It says that it is his prayer that the deceased family will find peace and that her soul will rest in eternal peace. The accused person filed their submissions in form of mitigation dated 10th of March. And I think it's important I take a bit of time in our understanding of what the accused person said, because he is the one on trial. So I will not summarize too much his mitigation, and also for the parties to appreciate that I've taken it into consideration in totality. The accused says that he's aware that nothing he says at this stage will relieve the pain of the deceased family. And he says the lesser he says, the better. He says that he expresses his sadness that such a tragic loss of life on extreme circumstances bordering, and this caught my attention, okay? He says that he expresses his sadness that such a tragic and callous loss of life on extremely circumstances bordering on an act of absolute madness that is beyond understanding, even to him, as he stands there convicted. He says that it is his prayer that the deceased family will find peace and that her soul will rest in eternal peace. He says that he understands the terrible fear and pain that the deceased must have underwent in the hands of the perpetrator, and he cannot even perceive the same. He joins the victim's family by saying that he does appreciate that monetary compensation cannot relieve the pain of the loss of a loved one. The court has been invited by the accused person to note that by the Supreme Court declaring the mandatory nature of death sentence to be unconstitutional, then it opened room and gave this court the discretion to mete out a sentence that is not necessarily death. And the accused then says that in that case, and again, this was very important to the court and for reading, because I come back to it. He says that in that case, it is his prayer that the court can mete out a custodial sentence. He says that although the victim's family in their submissions are calling for a death sentence, but the father of the victim, Bishop Paul Garama, was publicly heard saying that he will not take vengeance. And so, the court should consider his views. Finally, the accused person invited the court to consider that he is a first offender, that he was convicted purely on circumstantial evidence, and the period he has spent in custody. That, in my considered opinion, was the additional evidence given to this court in form of submissions by the parties at the close of the formal trial. In looking at the goals